When I arrived at the gas station for my first shift, everything seemed pretty typical. It was one of those standalone branded stations called Star Gasoline, clearly family-owned. The place was a bit run down, but still functional with just one car at the pump. The gas tanks were illuminated by a single yellow light in the center, casting shadows in every direction, like a compass. The convenience store section of the station was nothing out of the ordinary. The windows were plastered with faded ads for cigarettes, energy drinks, and a 2 hot dogs for 99 cents deal. The tinkle of a bell chimed when I pushed open the door, and the familiar scent of slightly old hot dogs under a heat lamp filled the air. I noticed there was no one at the counter, but a woman in her 50s waved to me from the back of the store as she swept the floor. The store was slightly larger than most, but other than that, it was pretty standard except for one odd thing. There were 2 clocks and an old TV screen mounted on opposite walls, both showing security camera footage of the gas pumps. It felt unnecessary. The cameras weren't positioned well either. They mostly displayed the ground between the pumps and the store, missing the pumps themselves. "Hello, you must be Alex," a voice interrupted my thoughts. I looked up and saw the woman smiling at me. "My husband interviewed you originally. We've been looking for someone to cover the night shift for months. I'm getting too old to stay up late, but you're young, so you'll be fine." She wiped her hands on her pants and extended a hand to shake mine. "I'm Diane. Nice to meet you. You can set your things behind the counter and I'll show you around. I know you've worked at a gas station before, so I won't bore you. We just need someone good at following directions." Diane moved quickly, eager to show me the ropes so she could go home and get some sleep. "The cleaning supplies are back here in this closet," she said, pointing to a small room. "Mops and brooms are on the left, the bathroom's on the right. It's just a single toilet." I peeked inside. The bathroom was exactly what I expected from a gas station. Scratched walls, probably from people carving their initials, and stained tiles, but at least it smelled clean, like bleach, and there was hand soap, which I appreciated. "I'll give you a list of cleaning tasks later, since you'll be closing up," Diane continued. She led me to the front, showed me how to operate the cash register and the debit card machine, and we were almost done. She dug into her pockets and handed me a set of keys. "These are for locking up, one for the front door and one for the back. Near your chair, you'll find a yellow list of cleaning tasks. The red sheet is the most important." She pointed at the bright red paper next to the register. "Read it, learn it by heart, and you'll be fine." "Thanks, I'll take a look," I said. "Did you bring a good watch like I asked?" Diane asked. "Yes," I replied. "Though it looks like you have so many clocks in here, I don't even need one to tell the time." "Oh no, you'll definitely need it. Trust me, you've got about 15 minutes before your shift starts. Go sit down and start on some of those tasks and keep the watch with you for a few days. You'll know it by heart soon enough." She grabbed her bags and left, eager to head home. With no customers around, the place felt quiet. It was almost 10 p.m., and there weren't even cars passing by on the road outside in this small town. I glanced out again, noticing the lone gas station light flickering in the distance, casting long shadows of the gas pumps. The shadows all stretched in the same direction toward the store, almost as if they were creeping toward the building in parallel. I picked up the 2 instruction sheets. Both were laminated and printed on sturdy cardstock, though a bit grimy from frequent use. The yellow sheet was filled with mundane tasks like mopping and taking out the trash, but the red sheet caught my attention. It had blocks of text that seemed much more important. "Welcome to Star Gas Station. This is your night shift employee manual. Please follow these instructions carefully. It is crucial that you are punctual and maintain the quality of service our customers expect, even during the late night hours. We strive for peace and harmony with our neighbors, day and night. A clean store with busy employees is a happy and occupied store. Spend most of your time being active in the lit part of the store, unless otherwise necessary. Half of the lights should always be off. Before 10 p.m., turn off half of the store lights. It doesn't matter which half, but once you make your choice, keep it consistent for the rest of the night. If you turn off all the lights, it will look like the store is closed. You'll need the unlit part of the store later. If you need to use the bathroom, keep the door cracked open so you can keep an eye on the security footage. 5. Throughout the night, you might notice puddles of water or heavy dust on the floor and surfaces. Clean them up when you can using the provided mops and dusters. Puddles and dust make the store appear abandoned and will attract attention. 6. Around 12 a.m. or earlier, prepare the mop bucket with water and soap. At 12:05 a.m., go to the back of the store, to the refrigerated drinks aisle, and mop the aisle continuously until 12:05 a.m. Do not leave this aisle or stop mopping until the specified time. You may feel an urge to leave the aisle or hide, but resist it. Do not show signs of fear and just keep working. The quality of your mopping doesn't matter, but it's important that you appear busy. 7. On the wall next to the cash register is a camera feed of the back lot, different from the other feeds. You only need to check this once every 30 minutes at the top and bottom of the hour. If you see a shadowy figure standing in front of the camera, staring at you, calmly duck under the register so that you can no longer see the screen. We call him Fred. Wait 5 minutes, then use the compact mirror under the register to check if he is still there. If he is, continue checking every 5 minutes until he leaves. 8. If Fred appears at the front of the store, stop what you're doing and do not acknowledge his presence. Calmly, crouch behind the aisles in the unlit section and make noise by moving snack bags and drinks around. Don't stand up. If you seem busy, Fred will leave you alone. I read through the instructions carefully. The tasks seemed straightforward, but there was something unsettling about them, especially the red sheet. I tucked the instructions back under the register and decided to get started, hoping that my first night would be an uneventful one. 9. These are the most critical rules. While we usually only have one nightly visitor, Fred, who is relatively harmless if you follow the rules, there are rare, unlucky occasions when others may show up. These out-of-town visitors are not harmless. Fred is local and predictable, but the others are dangerous. Keep an eye on the TV monitors lining the walls of the store. If you notice that the shadows of the gas pumps in the parking lot all point directly toward the store in unison, take it as a bad omen. This means out-of-town visitors are nearby and immediate action is required. 10. You'll have only a few minutes to act. Drop everything you're doing and run to the employee back room. Locate the large light switch panel on the back wall and flip every switch to shut off the store's electricity completely. This makes the store appear closed and may drive the visitors away in search of another establishment. However, this will anger Fred. Once the lights are off, go to the storage room on the right side of the back room. Lock the door and secure the deadbolt. Put your phone on silent and text Anne to let her know what's happening. Do not attempt to leave the storage room under any circumstances. While the store appears closed, Fred, and possibly the out-of-town visitors, may enter. Fred, despite being angry, will not search for you as long as you remain still. You may even take a nap if you can avoid snoring. If all goes well, we'll retrieve you in the morning and pay you triple your wages for the trouble. Ice ran through my veins as one particular line leapt off the page. This angers Fred. My eyes darted to the closest monitor, and my stomach dropped. The shadows outside were no longer in their usual compass formation. They stretched long and narrow, pooling toward the store like dark fingers reaching inside. No shadowy figures had appeared in the store yet, but the sight was enough to set my hands trembling. This couldn't be real, right? but I distinctly remembered the shadows being normal when I arrived. The light outside hadn't moved. How could the shadows have shifted so drastically? Panic overtook me as I checked the clock. I didn't have much time. The instructions replayed in my mind. Back room, light panel, storage room, lock and deadbolt, call Anne, stay silent. I bolted from behind the counter and sprinted to the back room. My shaking hands fumbled with the light panel switches, slapping them all down in one frantic motion. The store plunged into darkness. My phone flashlight flickered on, its narrow beam the only thing cutting through the pitch-black room. I groped along the wall, finally finding the storage room door. Inside, I locked the door, slid the deadbolt into place, and crouched behind a stack of boxes. My heart was racing, pounding so hard it felt like it might give me away. I gripped my phone tightly and dialed Anne, praying she'd pick up. The dial tone seemed to drag on forever. Finally, a voice came through. "Hello?" Relief washed over me. "Anne, is the red instruction sheet real?" I blurted, my words spilling out in a panicked rush. "The shadows, they're all pointing toward the store. Am I in actual danger? What's going on?" There was a pause, and then her voice softened. "I'm sorry I didn't warn you, honey. That last situation almost never happens. It's only occurred a couple of times in the past 2 years. You just got really unlucky. But it sounds like you did almost everything right." Her words offered a small measure of comfort, enough for me to exhale shakily and lean back against the wall. "We'll get you in the morning," she reassured me. "Just stay quiet and don't move. You'll be fine." Despite her calming tone, one word kept echoing in my mind, almost. As I prepared to settle in for the night, a thought surfaced, unbidden and chilling. What did she mean by almost everything right? I felt something near me. The voice was no longer coming from my phone, but whispering directly into my ear. "You were supposed to text her. That wasn't me on the phone." Ice flooded my veins. My face turned pale as I tried to process what I'd just heard. "How is that possible?" I stammered, thinking back to the phone call I'd made in the storage room. It had sounded so real, dial tone and all. "Oh, I know it sounds crazy, hun," Anne said, as she sat me down. "Don't look at me like that." I bombarded her with questions, desperate for answers, but her replies were only partial, leaving gaps that unsettled me further. Anne explained that shadowy entities like Fred can mimic voices and sounds they've encountered. That's why one of the rules about mopping the drinks aisle at 12:05 a.m. insisted on wearing headphones and playing music. She recounted eerie experiences from her own shifts. One night, while cleaning, she'd heard what sounded like her husband calling her name from the parking lot. Another time, it was her son knocking at the back door, claiming he needed to get inside. But her husband knew better than to come at night, and her son had moved out of town years ago. Once, while mopping, she heard her phone ringing in her pocket. Without thinking, she answered it. As soon as she brought the phone to her ear, dread consumed her. Her phone was always on silent. She never made that mistake again. Anne apologized for not being clearer about the job's dangers, but I wasn't ready to forgive her. Her explanation felt more like an excuse. She and her husband had deliberately omitted these horrors from the job description. My thoughts drifted back to my hiring process. Anne's husband had only conducted a brief phone interview before offering me the position, no in-person meeting, no real scrutiny. At the time, I thought it was just desperation for help. I told her outright that if I'd known what the job entailed, I never would have accepted. But now I couldn't walk away. My curiosity burned too brightly. I needed to know if these events were real or if I was losing my mind. Anne admitted that most of their employees over the years had been locals, people already familiar with the supernatural oddities in the area. But many of the town's younger generation had left, fleeing as soon as they could. I asked why she and her husband didn't do the same, why not close the gas station at night and avoid the risks. Her response chilled me. She explained that the gas station had been in her husband's family for generations. It was tied to the town's history, and like the other old buildings here, it resisted change. Years ago, when her husband tried to shut it down or change its operating hours, misfortunes and near-death accidents plagued their family. Only when he reopened the station and returned to the original late-night schedule did the calamities cease. I wanted to ask more, but before I could, Anne ushered me out. She promised to answer my questions another time. "Go home," she said. "Rest up. You've earned it." I woke up in the employee break room, lying on my back. Daylight streamed through the store's windows. Somehow, I had survived the night, but not unscathed. When I visited the doctor, I learned that my left ear, the one where Fred had whispered, was now permanently deaf. My eardrum was blown beyond repair. Anne looked genuinely concerned when I told her, but her explanation left me uneasy. She confessed that her husband had gone blind years ago after falling asleep during a night shift. He'd woken to a sunny morning, asking why the lights were still off. He never regained his sight. She needed a replacement to handle the night shifts. That's why I was hired. She hinted that my survival might not have been luck, it might have been necessity. I wasn't sure whether to take it as a warning or a threat. I swore I'd never return to the gas station. I applied for other jobs, but no one would hire me. Local businesses turned me down on the spot despite my qualifications. Online applications bounced back as undeliverable, even when my friends applied on my behalf. It didn't take long to realize something wanted me to stay. A shadow at my window. The first night after the incident, I saw it. At 10:30 p.m., as I stood in front of my mirrored closet door, I noticed a figure outside my bedroom window, the shadowy silhouette blurred against my opaque curtains. Its edges were indistinct, not like a person backlit by streetlights. It didn't move, it simply faced me. Paralyzed, I stared for too long. After 10 seconds, the light in my room abruptly shut off. Silence filled the air, heavy and oppressive. I dared not turn around. I felt ice creep across my scalp as though something was breathing down my neck. When I blinked, the silhouette had grown larger, closer, until it was pressed against the glass. Every instinct screamed at me to stay still, but I forced myself to move. Stumbling into the bathroom, I made a loud show of brushing my teeth and splashing water on my face. I needed to act normal, like I hadn't noticed anything. A loud crash echoed as I knocked over my toothbrush holder, shattering it on the tile floor. I froze, dreading the worst. But death didn't come. Gradually, the oppressive sensation lifted. I used my phone's camera to peek back into my bedroom. The shadow was gone. I haven't returned to the gas station, but I can't seem to escape its grasp. Something followed me home. I went to bed, but sleep eluded me. Ever since that first encounter, the figure has returned each night, standing outside my curtains, watching. At first, I thought about getting blackout curtains to block it out completely, but the idea of not being able to see it approach and potentially being caught off guard terrified me more. So, I left the curtains as they were, even though its presence chilled me to my core every night. Eventually, I noticed a pattern. If I got into bed and pretended to sleep before 10 p.m., the figure would appear, linger briefly, then leave without incident. Creepy as it was, this routine kept me safe, at least for the moment. But as Monday, the day I'm supposed to return to the gas station, draws closer, my bad luck has intensified. My car refuses to start. Items in my apartment go missing, only to reappear in strange places. One morning, I found my keys thrown into the bushes outside. The breaking point came when my front door jammed in an unlocked position for no apparent reason. Remembering the red sheet of gas station rules and its warning to always deadbolt doors when pursued by shadowy figures, I didn't take any chances. I bought a cheap deadbolt and installed it myself. I've decided to return to the gas station for one more shift. I just want this nightmare to end. The constant fear, the relentless anxiety, it's eating away at me. I haven't been able to eat properly, and I feel like a coiled spring, ready to snap at any moment. If you have any advice, anything that might help me make it through Monday's shift without incident, please share it. The sheer number of rules and details to remember is overwhelming, but I keep reminding myself, if Anne and her husband have managed this job for years, I can survive one shift. For now, I'm trying to stay calm and act natural. I keep repeating to myself, don't panic, stay composed, be a good citizen. A busy citizen is a good citizen. I just hope I can hold it together until then.